Hey everybody, how are you doing? I hope all is well. So today we're going to talk about something different. Normally when you see me in this position, I'm going to do a snake oil episode. Not today, so if you were expecting one, then click away. This video was requested by Derek Brown, and Derek Brown is one of my top patrons, and with that comes some privileges, and one of the privileges is that he may choose a subject for a video every month. And this month he asked me, how do I convert MIDI into WAV in Reaper? Well, Reaper is what I'm using, so that's pretty easy to explain. But I saw this as a much bigger idea for a video, actually a video I already had planned, and that's actually on how to archive things, because that's actually what he's asking. Because the thing is, as I have experienced myself, plugins don't last forever. So you always need to store your music and your files as audio or in a certain way that you can still access it after a longer period. That's what I'm also going to show you. So I'm going to show you my own archiving methods. Let's get started. So I'm actually storing my projects in two ways. I'm calling this the short-term and long-term storage. So let me first show you how I do my short-term storaging. So this is when a project is finished, I'm storing it in my archive, and it sometimes happens that after a month or even after a year or even after 2 years, did happen, that people come back because they finally had a label deal or something and they just wanted to change something, maybe change the vocal in it. This happens. I'm always supporting this by keeping all my projects safe and secure in an archive. If you want to know more about storing data and making sure that your data stays safe and also backing up stuff, I've made a video about it that I will link over here. So how I actually store a project for later use is, well, the only thing I really do is I clean the current project directory. So that happens when clicking File, Clean Current Project Directory. And what this does is it simply looks over the project and looks at all the files that you aren't using anymore in the project. So if you have recorded something, deleted it and then recorded something on top of it, the original file is still there. So that's what I do, and that's just to save space. So I'm not going to send these files to the trash, and I'm selecting everything, remove selected files, and they are gone. And that's actually all there is to it. I'm leaving everything turned on so that I have quick access to everything just as I have in a normal project. This is of course the best way to retrieve projects like this from an archive. If a project is like this, then it saves a lot of headaches. What does give headaches is when one of the plugins in your projects or multiple plugins in your projects aren't supported anymore. And there are several ways to bounce your project in a way that you don't have to worry about that again. And the first thing is, well, let's look at this kick. This kick has got, a small EQ on it. And this is also the answer to the question of Derek. And it's actually pretty simple. It's right click, render or freeze tracks, and then render tracks to, well, in this case a mono stem because this is mono, and mute originals. So what I'm doing now, it's simply rendering the track at 41 times speed, and now it's there. It has disabled the plugin and it's all audio. So the whole track is audio over the whole length of the track. So if I now do store the project in my archive, I can still access it with Reaper after a longer period when the plugins aren't supported or after the plugins even aren't being distributed anymore. And I'm talking about 10 to 15 years. So this is not only a perfect way for archiving, but also to offload your computer and to make sure that you have it in audio in your project. But it's not the best way to bounce your project. So let me show you what I do for the long-term storage. I go into my region render matrix and I'm selecting everything that I need to retrieve from the archives. So that will be my dynamics bus, that will be the kicks bus. So it's always handy to have your track manager next to it to really know what you're doing. I'm already making a mistake, as you can see over here. The plucky bass isn't active in my session. So I think there's a quicker way to do this, but I just want to be in full control of this. So that's why I'm always doing this by hand. So I'm making sure that I have everything that I might need in the future. And as you can see, I'm not only bouncing the individual channels. So if we look at percussion is actually a group. It's a folder. And I'm also bouncing that one because you never know what you're going to need. When also bouncing the group, you are just completely sure that you have everything in it. Sometimes I use group processing, sometimes I don't. So like this is it. This is everything that I might need in the future. And as you can see, I'm also bouncing the master mix, I'm bouncing my dynamics bus. I will also bounce a separated one which is pre-mastered, which isn't easy to bounce from my template, but it's just to make sure. One of the things that is going to happen when I need to retrieve this project, when nothing works anymore and I'm working in it maybe in a different DAW or something, is that I need to do the mastering again from the bottom up. If I need to change something in the mix and I don't have the master chain anymore, then I need to build it up again, and then it's always handy to hear what you did, and then you can also match up your master with the old master. And I actually did this a few times, and it's actually not that hard to do as long as you know what you're doing. So yeah, I'm going to bounce this, or actually render, because that's what it's called in Reaper. Selecting that I want it to be made from the region render matrix. So I'm going to put everything in a empty folder, because there are 32 files, so we need to make sure that that's in an empty folder. And I'm going to add in file name track, and I'm going to put a parent in there, parent track, so that I know which ones are folders and which ones are just separated channels, and how my project was actually built up from the bottom. And it's also handy to put track number in front of it, so that it will also be sorted in the same way as you archived it. So I'm bouncing this full speed offline. If I'm going to do this online, it will take a pretty long time. It will take more time than one coffee. So this session was made in 48 kilohertz. So I always keep the sample rates native. So if I made a project in 192, which I nowadays do, this is an older project, I simply bounce it in 192 kilohertz or 192,000 hertz. Resample mode if needed. Well, it doesn't need a resample mode because it's actually already at. And I'm keeping the wave bit depth at 24 bits. So yeah, that's it. I then press render 32 files. I then need to wait a few seconds. And as a last step to complete my whole archive, I'm going to my two folders, and I'm making a zip file or a compressed file of both of those folders, because this saves a lot in space, in terms of space. And yes, I know when working, 20 years, 25 years down the road, if you want to store it for that long, it could be that zip will be obsolete by then. But as soon as I will see that a zip file or even wave files are going to be out of fashion or out of date, I will make something that can batch process my whole archive and leave that running for 2 months, and then we will have everything converted into the new standard. And as you can see, here's the difference between storing a folder, which is 2 gigabytes, or a simple audio project, which is 788 megabytes. Again, it's not even the whole folder. It isn't really big. It's just 2 gigabytes. But in the end, I'm storing that many projects that this step really matters. So yeah, that's actually all there is to it. If you think about it, it's pretty simple, but it's about the thought pattern. It's about thinking in the future, like trying to see the future and trying to see what the best way is to store your files. With that being said, I want to end this video over here. As said, this video was requested, was demanded, was commanded by Derek Brown, one of my patrons. If you also want to become one of those patron crew members, go to Patreon over here and check out my campaign. Also, want to see more of this channel? Check out one of my other videos over here. Thanks a lot for watching this one, and I will see you guys again in the next one. Bye bye.